So Staci Hollowell, I'm very excited to have her join us. You brought her to the show. I'm gonna let you introduce her. You know what? You do this.
All right. Well, I'm so happy to introduce Staci Hollowell. She's a good friend of mine that I have known for years through IABC Dallas. She's a fantastic communicator, and you think I'm fun and funny? Come on, bring it on, man.
She should have been here for our pre-show conversation about getting your head too close to the camera. It was so Staci, tell us
round robins.
Yeah, the round robins always are fun. It's always just to get people's initial response to some of this crazy stuff that I hear all day, every day. So we brought you on today to talk about the importance of properly communicating via email and electronic communication. This is a skill that for some reason people do not find to be important in their day-to-day lives, but it is so instrumental, not just in your job seeking, but in keeping your job and most effectively working in your job, getting promoted, negotiating raises, all of these things. So Staci, first of all, if somebody sent you an email, let's say, not a LinkedIn message, as that was the last round robin question, but with a lot of capitals and way too many exclamation points, even if they were saying very nice things, what would be effective or ineffective about that?
First of all, have you been seeing my inbox this morning? Yes, it's real. I think people forget that their email is really their extension of their brand voice, no matter what the context is. And we have our friends that we can joke with. Trust me, if I am is monitored, I'm in trouble. But in the email world, it is there for all posterity. People can forward it. And, we just have to remember that we have to be on our toes all the time.
Yes.
You cannot lose it over email. And I have found myself having to say, I need 30 minutes before I respond to this because it is critical.
Yes, real quick, I want to pause on that one. That is such a crucial tip. Putting yourself in a timeout. If something strikes you, hits you off or makes you angry, something like that, step back from it for a minute. If it gets you heated, step back. Do not respond immediately. I cannot stress that enough.
And something that you said earlier about the environment that we're all in right now, do, go, go, go. We're all doing 50 things at once. And that really shows in email when your response is not carefully curated. So I do have to remind myself of that too. I have a tiny bit of an extroverted personality and tend to speak just a little. You speak sometimes, in my authentic self, and have to remember who I am actually communicating to and tone myself down a little.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And know your audience, right? That's a big part of what we've been talking about. Know your audience. If the person you're speaking to is, let's say, from the South and really engulfed in that culture, Southerners tend to speak at a much slower pace, a much lower volume. They tend to have a different cadence. Whoever you're communicating with, try to match their cadence. That's my main piece of advice. Whereas if you talk to people from the Northeast, they tend to be like me and be loud and be boisterous and make big gestures and do that kind of thing and go 90 to nothing. That's a little bit of a stereotype, but it tends to be the culture is what you need to match, right? And by the way, I'm actually from the South. I just go 90 to nothing anyway. So I am breaking that stereotype, but it's true.
Bless your heart, though. That's really.
I don't. I don't say bless your heart. I don't. I get asked that all the time, and it's so funny to me. And I'm like, I just say I got this thing from my aunts, God rest her soul, for many years ago, where I just say, that's nice. So very, very nice. When really what I'm going is, you stupid.
Well, I'm a global company, and so I'm particularly cognizant of colloquial phrases that people use based on what region of the world they're in. And you have to be really careful, particularly in trying to be authentic, but still be true and unoffensive. There are just certain things that don't go over well in certain cultures. And we try and make a game of it, again, in internal teams, not broad communications, but to just say, let me teach you a new American way to say that. I like the euphemisms. They're lots of fun. I've been having a lot of fun with some of my colleagues in the UK that have really great, and especially Scottish, they have really great ways to say things. And
yeah.
So sometimes, we offer up the translation for everyone.
I like that. Just
on the email.
And by the way, guys, I've gotten a lot of things too about English as a second language and how does that hold you back? It really doesn't. I'm going to tell you the truth. For anybody, any company that's worth their salt, any recruiter that's worth their salt, it doesn't make a difference. Okay. As long as you're able to get your point across, great. And you know what? I would rather have somebody that has the reason of it's my second language than somebody who was born and raised here. And you're like, did you graduate kindergarten? That's not even a sentence. I saw a job posting the other day on Facebook in one of my job groups, and I'm not kidding you. I had to reread it 5 times, literally 5 times, to even figure out what the guy was saying.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, really? So it's okay, guys. If you have if English is your second language, or if it's not English, if you're an English speaking person who's going for a Spanish speaking job or something like that in a different country, it's okay. It's okay. That's not the end of the world. So Susan, when we're talking about the importance of knowing your audience and that type of thing. That seems to be kind of a trend today, is talking about know your audience when you communicate. Why is that so important? Why is it that the audience really dictates how you present yourself?
The way you present yourself to the audience, you want them to, first of all, understand what you're saying. And get, have buy-in to what you're saying. Especially if you're trying to sell them something, you want to show them what you can solve. I know that in some of my communications, when it comes to emails, so I'm a communicator. I write, one of the greatest learnings I'm getting from writing on LinkedIn is writing less words, because people can sometimes go really, really long on emails. And I'm guilty of that too. And you lose the audience. The audience can't pay attention to that much, especially these days. So think about what your audience is willing to read and what they really need to know. By cutting out that extraneous information, they don't need to know that I'm sorry that I'm late because, whatever reason, just to get to the point. I also can
be direct.
Yes.
Be direct.
But I can also go the opposite direction and just sit there and say, yeah, that's good. And that's the entire email, without a greeting or a thank you. And I have to catch me because I'm in a hurry, and I have to catch myself because it's just not very friendly to sit there and say, yeah, that's good. And
in business, you have to come across as likable. I don't care what anybody else tells you. Okay. It does matter. and 80% or more, I would say, but at minimum 80% of the reason that somebody hires you is because they like you. Okay. And it's the same thing of how you keep your job, how you get promoted, how you get new opportunities. It's because people like you. They like working with you. It's not about necessarily liking you as a human being. Okay. It's about liking working with you, liking hearing from you, liking dealing with you every single day. That's what matters. Okay. The second that goes away, your opportunities will start to decline. You'll start getting, kind of the cold shoulder. You'll get less good, less interesting products, that type of thing. So it's really, really, really important to make sure that you're taking the extra time to communicate in a way that sends a positive message. And I'm like that too, by the way. I am just like, I'm really, really quick, just like, oh yeah, that's great. But I have to go back and go, no, say something nice, be a little bit more human, because I tend to go 90 to nothing. So you gotta be a little bit more human, right? What is your advice, Staci, to people that it doesn't come as naturally to them? Like Susan and I, we're loud and we can we can laugh and be funny and all that type of stuff, but that's not so natural to everybody. So what's your advice to people that need to learn that skill of how to communicate in a way that's more endearing to hiring managers, bosses, whoever it may be?
Well, oddly enough, I know this is going to sound crazy, but truthfully, even though no one can see you when you're writing an email, your smile comes through. And I always coach people, be open when you are communicating, because if you have a closed mind and a closed thought process, it really comes through in your communication. So it can be like a physical, just literally open arm gestures as you're thinking through what you're going to say, and just really picture delivering that communication verbally and make sure that your message reflects that 100%. Because people that are introverted and shy, their emails tend to sometimes reflect that. They can be shorter sentences,
yes,
or skip from one thing to the other without making context and relevance and tying it together. And you always have to think about, is my audience really going to understand everything that I've tried to share?
Right.
Without having to go back and look at another email that I've sent them earlier.
Right. And I will tell you too, that getting somebody, the endearing yourself to somebody, and Andy talked about this too. Don't just message somebody, especially job seekers, but really in any situation, don't just message somebody out of the blue that you don't even know and immediately start asking favors of them. It's not a productive way to do things, right? You want to kind of make them want to do things for you. Have a conversation.
Off-putting when somebody says, I looked at your profile and thought you would be the person to help me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
and I get that every day, every single day. And I'm going, what in the world possessed you to just immediately call and go, hey, I want 30 minutes of your time. Are you going to pay for that 30 minutes? Because
I want 30 minutes of my time too.
Yeah, I want that too. You know what? You let me know when I have 30 minutes free, and then I will be very happy about that. So
I also think it's important that, so there's been a lot of times that I've had to communicate fairly complex information to people, whether it's how to do something new or an event that's coming up. There is such great importance in organizing your email in a readable format. Like, put some headlines and some subheads and break it. Don't send one long 50-line email paragraph.
That's
break
so
it
true.
Up and shorten everything as much as you can, and use subheads to draw attention to those things that you really need to know. And that goes a long way, especially when you're communicating complex information.
Absolutely.
Yes. And if you're selling something, or if you're a job seeker pitching yourself, this applies to either group.
Yep.
Start by being direct about, be friendly, and that whole thing. Establish a relationship first, if you can, try to kind of say something nice about them or about their company, or even better, actually have a little bit of a back and forth with them before you do this. But when you go to pitch, be direct about what it is that you want. And I love Susan's repeat what you do, because I actually, it's basically a flawless outline. So go back. What do you do when you do your pitch for yourself?
When I'm communicating to the recruiter for a job, I find the person that is most likely to be the one that might be doing the actual recruiting. I send them an LinkedIn email, and I say, I have the perfect person for this job, me. And here's why. I've already applied online. Here's my LinkedIn link and my website link.
And what that does is that gives an opportunity for them to research you and get to know you. But the most important thing that she did you hear what she said? She said, I have the perfect candidate for you. And that's so exciting. They're like, ooh, great. It's an attention getter. Yeah. And it's the same thing of, if you're selling something to somebody, it's the same concept. Get them excited. Like, what? Really? And then it's me. And I'm so great. And it's funny, and it's cute, and it's confident. That's the best approach. In fact, I recently, for the very first time in about 14, 15 months, responded positively to a sales message that I got on LinkedIn, because it started basically that exact same way. Mm-hmm. Hey, we know you're having trouble with XYZ, and we have a solution for you. Bam, right here. It was the exact same layout. Yeah, it was the exact same layout.
You have to remember that, the way people get their email right now, whether it's through LinkedIn or whether it's through Outlook, most people put it in preview mode. They're only going to see the first few words. They better be good and they better be compelling, because otherwise, like me, I'll be like, I'll get back to that.
Yeah. Okay, bye. So real quick, I want to do a round robin with you two. Okay. And we're going to talk about some of the messaging that I've gotten recently. And I just want like a 1 or 2 sentence response and or how you would handle receiving this communication. And I'm not making this first one up, I promise you. Okay. This is a LinkedIn message. I help female entrepreneurs lose weight and get healthy. That was about my face. Staci, what you got?
I do Camp Gladiator 3 days a week. Thank you very much. Thank you for assuming that I need to lose weight. Appreciate it.
Susan?
Thanks for the vote of confidence, but I'm good.
Yeah, that was I said, just a little pro tip, and immediately insinuating that someone's fat is probably not the best way to start a relationship. I thought it was hilarious that I do work out and all that, but I was just going, what an odd approach.
I had to tell me that every day. You don't need to reinforce it.
So then the next one is, I would like to get 15 minutes of your time. Please tell me when you are free. Keep in mind, this is not the middle of a communication. This is the start and the finish. This is it.
Yeah.
What do you got, Susan?
Block.
Just straight to block. Just not even a response. Hateful. You know what, guys? We just learned Susan is secretly hateful. Now we know. Susan is hardcore.
Yeah, those salespeople and vendors that would show up in the office at the receptionist desk and say, I'd like to meet with Susan. And the receptionist calls me and says, I have your guest here. It's like, I don't have a guest scheduled to get here. They just, no, tell them to go away. You want to see me? Set up a meeting and let me know what it's about. Don't waste my time.
Yes.
Chocolate. Yeah.
Leave it. Yeah. Leave chocolate or cookies. Then I'll like you and I'll actually give you my time. And just side note, guys. Yeah. If you want time from me, I can be bribed with food. Okay. If you offer to send me food or send me a gift certificate for food, you will get my time. I promise you, I can be bribed with food. But no, absolutely. And it comes back to something that Donnie Boyvan always talks about, don't just, ask for somebody's time, state why, give a reason, say, hey, don't just be general. Trevor Houston says this too. Don't just be general, state your purpose, state the why, and make sure that you don't forget to say hi. Mm-hmm. Especially if you don't even know the person. Don't just say, I want 10 minutes of your time. Who are you?
Homework. I get so many messages that are asking me to give them time for something that is not in my job purview. And I know you get me to say that, so I'll tell them who. I delete them. I used to be nice and respond, I'm not the right person. But then I realized they didn't know me, and they were just fishing.
Who cares? Yeah. And guys, job seekers and sales people out there trying to sell your product, listen to this. This is what is happening on the other end of your messaging. Okay. It's not attractive to just demand somebody's time or to send that or to ask them a dumb question. Don't ask a dumb question either, guys. What do you do for a living? This is LinkedIn. Look at what I do. Don't ask me a stupid question. This is not an effective approach.
Please look at LinkedIn. I mean, really look at it, because I get emails all the time from vendors saying, hey, I see that you handled this at your old company. They put the company name in there. And I'm like, I found you on LinkedIn is what they usually start out with. Well, clearly you didn't find me on LinkedIn, because you'll see that company, I haven't worked there for a year.
Right. So, right. It's so strange. Yeah. So guys, be effective with your messaging and do your research first, whether sales, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a job seeker, do your research first. And at that, thank you so much, Staci, for coming.
Really?
Time flew.
It's time.
I know, it's crazy. It flies, right? But everybody connect to Staci. We've dropped her LinkedIn. Please connect with her. She's a wonderful resource. Bye.
Bye.